This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
I don't do video tutorials. It's not my thing. Other people like doing them much more than I do, and they do them much better. And in the end, in my book anyway, it's not mastery over the gear so much as it is mastery over one's eye, one's way of seeing, one's artistic voice that matters most. But I'm going to make an exception in this case because it is, in the end, perhaps less of a tutorial than a plea to a very, very good manufacturer to up its industrial design game, to see the gestalt of its products in a different light. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and let's begin this way. Today, I want to share with you the one setting change you should make immediately after taking your shiny new Sony a7 IV out of the box. Here's the thing. While the single most notable, visible hardware update on the a7 IV is the brand new, first time ever seen on any Sony camera, stills video collar underneath the PASM dial, which, in theory, should allow one to switch seamlessly between, that is, improve the interoperability of stills and video modes, with the common settings for each mode retained separately. The out-of-the-box default setting for this collar, I mean, when you literally take the camera out of the box, is off. As in, none of the common functions between the two, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, exposure compensation, metering mode, white balance, picture profile, and focus mode, change when you switch from stills to video. You change something in one mode and it becomes the default for both modes. If, for example, you set the shutter speed to 1/500th of a second while in stills mode, say, well, I don't know, you're shooting street photography, then switch to movie mode because you want to shoot some, I don't know, behind-the-scenes B-roll, the shutter speed in movie mode is now also 1/500th of a second, never mind what it was the last time you set it. If you then change the shutter speed to a more appropriate 1/125th of a second in movie mode because, say, you're shooting at 60 frames per second, when you switch back to stills, the shutter speed is now, you guessed it, 1/125th. Same for the other parameters I just mentioned. The question is, why on earth would a company design a hybrid camera with this new additional control put there specifically to make hybrid shooting easier, but then ship the camera with that specific functionality turned off? What's maybe even worse? Here's what you have to do to turn it on. 1. From the main menu, navigate to the bottom tan brownish toolbox-looking icon by using the joystick or the rear control dial or the touch interface. 2. Navigate the same way across and down to option number 3, Operation Customize. 3. Navigate to Different Set for Still MV, MV stands for movie, video. 4. Read the information screen, which explains what to do next. 5. Hit OK by whichever means best suits you. 6. Proceed to toggle on any or all of the 8 parameters available to you, which includes focus, a good thing. 7. Jump out of the menu to see how it all works by switching the collar from one mode to another. Only 8. To suddenly realize that the parameter list does not include IAF on or off. In other words, however you set it in one mode still carries over to the other. 9, or maybe it's some other parameter your particular use cases require that needs to be separated by mode that the development team missed. 10, wonder to yourself, is there another parameter list somewhere which allows me to change which 8 parameters I can change or hold constant across modes, which is very meta. 11, then wonder, can I overcome at least some of these limitations by using the memory banks in each mode before trying it and learning? 12, yes, I can. If, for example, you have IAF on when shooting talking head videos at 4K 24p, like this, but have it turned off at 4K 60p for tracking shots of objects, you can do this by saving the settings for each scenario to one of the memory banks accessed through the PASM dial. Which is a good thing, since I just implied you cannot do this through the parameters on the different set stills MV submenu. I'm not even going to talk about the second default setting you should always immediately change as soon as you pull any Sony Alpha camera out of the box. Okay, fine, I will. You should always change auto power off temp from standard to high, or else your camera will shut down from overheating sooner than you'll want if you're shooting long-form video, especially outdoors in bright light. That's all I wanted to share with you today, at least as far as the tutorial part is concerned. But let me place this in a broader context by wrapping things up this way. Maybe it's because my first real stills camera, a 35mm interchangeable lens Canon FTQL SLR, only gave me the options of changing aperture, shutter speed, and focus. One couldn't change ISO on the fly back then because one used single-speed film, and there was no such thing as autofocus, never mind all of the other parameters like color, color balance, etc., etc., etc. Or maybe it's because my first movie camera, a Fujifilm P1, I think it was auto everything. But from where I sit, this level of complexity is Rube Goldberg-esque astounding and gets in the way. Though, of course, what we can do with our cameras today compared to what we could do back then is equally astounding. Even so, I think this complexity is completely unnecessary if only camera manufacturers, Sony isn't the only one with this issue, would invest the time and effort to do better. So, as we close out here, one, right, just make the changes. Make the collar do its job. Allow the A7 IV to do what it can for you by toggling on the different set for still MV options as soon as you open the box. I'd toggle all of the parameters on, which, in fact, is what I did after I bought one the moment it was delivered after talking to a friend of mine at Sony. 2, while you're at it, make sure the second thing you do is change that auto power off temp setting too, because there is no good reason to start using the camera in standard, I dare you to go 25 minutes in 4K 24p, never mind 4K 60p without overheating mode. I actually did this first because I already knew about this from previous Sonys. The third thing to do is to make use of those custom memory banks. For video, for example, I set Bank 1 to my Batcave YouTube talking head video use case, which begins with 4K 24p, 1/50th of a second, fixed white balance because I always control the light, and IAF on. Bank 2 for my Batcave Zoom call use, which switches to HD 24p to reduce bandwidth requirements. And Bank 3 for our on-location, on-the-street, slow-motion B-roll use case, which begins with 4K 60p 1/125th of a second, auto white balance, and IAF off, because now we typically want to object track. 2, as I said, it makes no sense to me that the camera should be set up with these defaults. It strikes me as a pair of product development decisions taken without regard or understanding for how hybrid shooters actually operate, what they actually need, and frankly, the value of their time. Put differently, a new hardware upgrade intended to simplify things was, in essence, betrayed by a new software counterpart, a submenu with everything initially set to off, which only made things more complicated, especially because it doesn't address all of the relevant parameters anyway. Yet, this does not change the fact that the A7 IV is a powerful hybrid camera, the sweet spot in the company's entire full-frame lineup, in my estimation, the sweet spot in the entire industry, and is why, as I mentioned a moment ago, we chose to drop our own hard-earned cash on one. On the other hand, it does make obvious the value of the following request to our friends at Sony. Guys, please, do better. Put differently, I encourage you to make your software user interface design as high a priority and as much of a core competence as your hardware prowess. But if you don't, hey, it's just a camera. It can be mastered as is, and in 2022, we all have much, much bigger fish to fry. Know what I mean?
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 6 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below because this is an incredible audience. If you'd like a copy of our Streets of New York, the book, head over to www.3bmep.com/books. If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one video session with me for a portfolio review, explore or hone your artistic voice, select gear, and more, sign up at www.3bmep.com/booking. Finally, consider supporting our work by using our no-cost-to-you affiliate links down below, picking up some official Three Blind Men and an Elephant swag at 3bmep.threadless.com, sending coffee money via PayPal, or best of all, join us as a patron over at Patreon. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.